everyone. How's it going? Oh boy. We have got some stuff to talk about today. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little anxious to get into this just because of what I've been reading today, and I actually had to step away from it because I was reading it on my phone at some today, but then I pulled it up on my computer and started trying to read a little bit more about it. And I'm just like, I think I'm just a little bit baffled the fact that that seems to be a common trend right now, but just the fact that we're in this situation with our debt ceiling and inflation and just kind of everything that's going on with it. So I will give everyone a little bit more time to get in, get settled, whatnots. So I do have some links that I'll be showing. I will go ahead and put these into the various chats. Let's see, we're going to do a trade talk chat first. So everyone in Discord, I will be posting these up here momentarily. So you guys can click through and see YouTube. I will just be showing them to you guys, but I will also put them.
Nancy Pelosi, for her part, has already weighed in on Congress and its options going forward.
Be quiet. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I will post them up for you guys too here in just a second. I hope everyone's doing okay. It's this Sunday. I hope everyone's ready for trading week this week. That's going to possibly be interesting. Just kind of given everything that we're seeing. I know a lot of us that have been tracking like everything that's been going on. Like this week could be a very interesting for sure. I look forward to it for like I don't even know. Like I am just so I'm frustrated at everything that I'm reading because I'm starting to come to this thought that like, yes, okay, I personally know, and this is just my own thoughts, my own opinions, and I have my sister who had COVID. I know COVID is bad, right? I know it, but there's just something in me that between the meme stocks and COVID and a few other things that it was just kind of like, hey, look over here. Look at this. This is tinfoily. It could be totally tinfoily, and please someone shut me up if I am off on something. But this is something that Hambone and I are working on and this is what we were talking about last night, was our mind map. And it's two timelines. Okay. It is the timeline of mainstream media news, what they actually were talking about during certain periods and we're going back to like September of 2019. Okay. So we're going from September of 2019 to now and kind of tracing the entire mainstream media, the narrative that they were pushing and what they were talking about, what they kept making everybody look at and everything. Because there's just like the toilet paper thing. That's what comes to my mind, is that they just kept hyping up, like harping about how there's no toilet paper, there's no paper products, there's no toilet paper. Like, what the hell is that about, right? And so, because there's also, if you dig a little bit deeper, and so the second timeline is what was actually going on, what was actually being, like, different things going on in the Middle East, things going on here in the United States and North America in general, laws that they were passing, and things that the craziness. There's a bunch. Like, I cannot wait for this to be released from what we're finding. And actually, I'll sit here and read this to you guys. I was thinking about posting it up, so you guys can tell me if I should or not. So it's headlines they distract from. Hi, nice Manscaped ad, YouTube pushing points. I have no control over that. That's hilarious. Oh, Lord. That's so funny. So the headlines they distracted from. All right. And this is in no order by any means. This is just kind of how it popped into my head, right? So the Afghanistan withdrawal, missed drone strike killing innocents. I don't know if you guys have heard these. So if you guys haven't heard about some of these, say something, either in Trade Talk or in YouTube. So the missed drone strike killing innocent 7 children, 3 adults, leaving Americans and allies behind. Like, they talked about it, and I'm so glad that social media kept just talking. We all kept talking, like, what is going on, because it dropped off the mainstream very quickly for what it was and what was going on. It dropped off very fast, which is very odd. Let's see, massive amounts of money and equipment left behind. Like, that was, breezed over for maybe 3 days. I don't feel like that got enough coverage. I really don't. Just, and think about this. When I say, like, got enough coverage, think of things that they talk about, like the toilet paper thing. They talked about toilet paper for months and months and months, right? And these are massive things that are happening all around the world, and they actually affect our economy, and they're not talking about it. So, yeah, that's where I say, like, they distracted from it. Then they say, quote, Kabul won't fall. And then it falls to the Taliban, with Afghanistan president fleeing the country with 169 million. Okay. Rescue mission led by the special op veterans, and they actually did more than our government did getting people out, which I thought was fantastic. Like, I don't know if you guys have to actually read about that, but this was like special, like, SEALs and Green Berets and people, and they, my hat's off to you guys. Like, the fact that I think they got 500 people out pretty quick, self-funded and everything. So, and like, they had some charitable givings and stuff, but it wasn't anyone from the government that actually funded them. So I thought that was pretty great. Katie, I'm just kind of going over some headlines real quick that I feel were not talked about enough. And it's kind of just based on some DD that my husband and I are working on. So then we also have General Milley, calling China during Trump administration to give warning if there was an attack. He still has his position as chief of staffs, and he's being investigated for treasonous actions. Like, what the actual hell? How is this even a thing right now? Fauci, we all know him. He was the leader of COVID, claimed numerous times not to have any kind of investments in Wuhan, come to find out. And I actually have the link to the report for that he was lying during the congressional hearings, and he actually did have many investments in the Wuhan lab. So there is that. They haven't even mentioned that, really. Government, federal agencies, this is this topic. No action to help those with lost rent, mortgage protections. Like, they were basically like, nope, sorry, you don't get, like, this is done. The CDC thing is done. And instead of, this is how screwed up our government is right now. They have to, they're fighting over our debt ceiling. Like, this is taking such a toll in the fact that they can't even figure out now how to help American citizens. Like, we have an astronomically growing rate of evictions and foreclosures getting ready to happen. And granted, now these things won't happen instantly because the courts will be backed up. It's a mess. It's a mess. Those guys you're speaking about are badasses. They were in there without support. If things went south, they were on their own. Yeah, 100%. Like, I read about that. I read Pineapple Express, I believe is what that was called. Yeah, I will, Joel. But yeah, I read about that and I got chills. I was like, that is what our military is about. That is the strength right there, right? Like, and it was the selflessness, them saying, fuck you, we got to get our people out. And you guys know I don't cuss on stream. Like, I really try not to. But oh man, I was so pumped. Cover a story with a bigger story. I don't know, a mind map sounds awesome. Yeah, no, right? So yeah, so anyway, I will post this link in just a sec. Let's see. So yeah, the no action with the lost rent mortgages. So then we also have attempt to mandate vaccines for the American citizens, except for the federal workers, illegal/legal immigrants, and USPS workers. Okay, why is it that the federal workers and the USPS workers, I'm not even going to get started on the immigrant aspect of this yet, but why is it that these people are exempt from these mandatory vaccines when you have people that really don't want to get them, or they might have some kind of adverse reaction to them because they have an allergy with something that's in these vaccines. It does happen. And then they're going to potentially lose their job and not be able to afford anything. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Why are these people exempt? You know, I believe that the phrase is what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Like, hello. But they're not touching about that. They're not even talking about that. Or let alone, you know, we did just bring a lot of people from Afghanistan over for asylum. And we have people coming in from Mexico. We have all these immigrants coming in. And I have nothing against that in some senses, because I know that it has to be so much worse wherever they're coming from, right? But I'm very confused, right? I'm very confused with this one. That's for another day. I do know what I'm talking about with the vaccines, but we're not going to get into that one. Let's see. They're downplaying inflation. Quote, "It won't be bad." Quote, "Inflation is transitory." Quote, it's only, in big bold letters, only 5.4%. Okay. Inflation is going to be bad. And it's actually something we're talking about today, guys, right? We're already seeing, like, the fact that my own parents came to me today, they were like, yeah, we just went to the grocery store. It is, you know, they saw it. They actually saw that the prices are going up. Okay. The prices are going up, and, you know, oil is going up. The price of gas is going up. This is going to get bad, and I do fear for it. Debt ceiling issues. They're not, they post about it, but they don't talk about it. They just kind of, and this is why I wanted to bring this up today, because this whole $1 trillion platinum coin deal, no. This is not a solution. And I really hope someone else can say otherwise, because this makes me very fearful for our dollar, because the minute they start printing $1 trillion coins and saying, hey, we're good, we might as well be like Zimbabwe. You know, it's all right. Anyway, food shortages, empty store shelves, the shrinkflation. So they're really not talking about those things. International, they're not talking about how we've basically destroyed our relationship with France. Don't know if you guys heard about this one. If you've listened to me, you've heard about it. But us supplying Australia with nuclear subs caused France to lose the contract with Australia. Okay, Australia had a contract agreement with France, but because our nuclear subs and UK's nuclear subs are quote unquote better technologically wise and everything, they ended up coming to us and saying, hey, can we contract with you or whatever. This came actually right before we were supposed to have some big celebration with France about celebrating our alliance with one another and whatever. So that, needless to say, was canceled. Biden was not allowed, was not welcome. And then France ended up pulling their ambassador from the U.S. Embassy. So then we also have Biden keeps going to Delaware. Where is Kamala? Kamala's not been anywhere around. Gold and silver tank while the USD goes up, even though the bank's financial institutions are now required a $1 trillion high quality asset, which is, it's really funny. I just kind of put these two together. The banks are now required to have $1 trillion in assets, and they're trying to mint a $1 trillion platinum coin. So if our government can't even figure out a way to bring in $1 trillion, how are the banks supposed to have $1 trillion? So there's that. Oil prices increasing, and then my whole got memes thing. I have a whole shit ton of things to write about that. But anyway, as for the comment about vaccines, I worked in medicine for about 7 years. There's a reason I don't work in that anymore. So I do know all about vaccines. I do know that people do have allergies to ingredients, such as if you're allergic to eggs or anything like that, it can actually cause you to not be able to get certain vaccines. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I do know. Anyway, so let's get into this. Had not heard about it. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it's those are the headlines that I see. Like, I see them for like an instant, and then they're gone. Like, I see them for like maybe a day or two, and these are big things to be talking about, and they don't talk about it. So we'll see. So yeah, that's the idea behind the timeline is, the mainstream news, what's been going on since 2019, mainstream timeline versus the actual timeline of what's been going on globally, because I can guarantee you it's a hell of a lot different between the two. But I'll go ahead and switch my screens over here. I'm sorry if I pissed anybody off, but this is the world as I see it, right? And I don't see black and white. I see a lot of gray. I try to see everything from many, many, many different perspectives. And I get tired of it. I get very, very, very tired of it, because I have lived a very interesting life, and I've seen a lot of bullshit. I've seen a lot of bullshit. Anyway, so, all right, Chrome. All right, so debt ceiling. Let's dive in. So we're talking about debt ceiling, right? If you guys have been paying attention, the debt ceiling has been hit. The U.S. Treasury is basically supplying us on life support for what we owe, and this is what's keeping the military paid. This is what's keeping Social Security, any kind of food stamp programs, anything like that, Medicaid, Medicare, any kind of state funded or federal funded, U.S. Treasury is kind of footing the bill on this, and we can't do it much longer. They just can't do it much longer. And so right now, what our government officials, our elected officials, are trying to figure out is the debt ceiling and how they increase it. But you also have, the Republicans kind of digging in right now and saying, screw you, Dems, because your spending's ridiculous and we're not going to do it. So the debt ceiling is the maximum amount of money that the United States can borrow cumulatively by issuing bonds. The debt ceiling was created under the Second Liberty Bond Act of 1917 and is also known as the debt limit or statutory debt limit. If the U.S. government national debt level bump up against the ceiling, the Treasury Department must resort to other extraordinary measures to pay government obligations and expenditures until the ceiling is raised again. So what ends up happening, it actually says here, the debt ceiling has not been raised or suspended the debt ceiling has been raised or suspended numerous times over the years to avoid worst case scenario, which would be a default in the U.S. government debt, which has never happened. This has never, ever, ever happened where we have not been able to pay our debts. They've suspended it. They've, we've gone on shutdowns and everything like that. Like, Hambone actually, he lost one of his jobs because of the shutdown, because he had a lot of government contracts. So we know all too well what this can do. But thankfully it never, got to this point. So what they're actually looking at doing is a $1 trillion platinum coin. They want to literally mint a coin, put it in the vault, and say, yeah, we're good. I mean, that would, in my head, okay, let's pretend here. This is a little plastic thing for glow sticks, right? In my head, you have this. And I now say, this is worth $1 trillion. And we go put it in the vault. There's nothing to it. It's just a coin that says, stamped on it, whatever, $1 trillion. We are literally looking at monopoly money at this point. It's monopoly money. It's that rule. It's that, what was it, Rule 11 or some craziness that says if the bank runs out of money, just kind of start writing it on paper and pretend until whatever, right? We can't just do that. It doesn't work. We need our government officials, we need our elected officials to actually do their job and figure out our debt, paying off our debt, not creating more and doing frivolous spending and all this other BS that they do. I'm sorry. This one has bugged me since I saw it in one of the other bills that was passed last year. But the fact that we sent, tens of billions or something to, is it Afghanistan? It might have been Iraq. One of the Middle Eastern countries now, for gender studies. Why did we send money over there to do gender studies? I don't understand that. Whenever we were in the middle of a pandemic, I don't understand why we had to use that money to spend on that at that particular moment. Why did we have so much frivolous spending in all of these bills? Anyway, so yeah, a new fight over the debt ceiling is brewing on Capitol Hill. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has firmly dug in, refusing GOP to help to renew the U.S.'s ability to pay off its bills, known as the debt ceiling. Instead, the Kentucky Republicans said it's up to the Democrats to raise it in order to finance their social spending plans on health care, education, and child care. He insists he's not bluffing. But the conundrum could have a coin-sized solution. A loophole in the law that prescribes the types of coins that can legally be minted in the U.S. theoretically allows the Treasury Department to mint a $1 trillion platinum coin, deposit it in the Federal Reserve, then continue paying its bills as normal. I know where to get platinum. What? I saw that. No one said that it was except you. What are you saying, even though there's very low? Okay. So grateful for the BullHouse and all those that help run it. Thank you. Thanks, guys. I'm just trying to catch up on chat. Let me see Trade Talk real quick. Yeah, I saw that. Regarding inflation. So Federal Reserve, are you lying to us? Or are you lying to us? Right? Let's pull this up real quick. Mr. Powell used a gauge from the Dallas Fed that throws out the top 31%, bottom 24% of personal consumption expenditures price changes, and was bang on the Fed's 2% year-over-year target July. The latest available, an alternative measure from the Cleveland Fed, strips out the top of the and bottom 16% of consumer price index changes and was far higher. Worse, the monthly rate was unchanged in August from July, giving no support to the idea of inflation is already coming back down. Imagine that. Yeah, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's simulation confirmed. $1 trillion coin. Just, there you go. It's cool, right? It's totally cool. Anyway, the debt ceiling places a fixed limit on the total amount of money the Treasury Department can borrow in order to fund government activities, and Congress has to vote to either raise or suspend that limit from time to time as the federal debt grows even larger. And Biden administration Democrats are pressuring Republicans to back down, ruling out raising the debt limit on their own and reminding the GOP they played a role racking up $8 trillion in new debt under the Trump administration. There's no clear path out for lawmakers as they confront the barrage of deadlines this month, including another spending brawl that could end in a government shutdown. Former Barack Obama said in a 2017 interview with Crooked Media that senior officials had considered minting a coin to stave off the potentially catastrophic default. So that's just one article, right? Then we have this one. Sorry. Why the arts no one has been using. Yeah, I don't even know. Anyway, sorry. White House sounds alarm on debt ceiling. fight warns Medicaid food stamps at risk. It was kind of what we were talking about earlier. Biden administration is warning state and local governments about drastic cuts to the Medicaid food stamp disaster relief and federal programs if Congress fails to raise or suspend the debt ceiling soon. The battle to raise the government borrowing limit carries big risk for state and local officials. The White House said in a fact sheet obtained by the Associated Press, with the total debt standing at $28.5 trillion, the government would be forced to slash federal programs unless the cap is either suspended or lifted. No, we've already passed the date, D. We've already passed the date for our debt ceiling. Like, the Treasury's already paying our bills. Like, they have, I keep saying anywhere from, like, the end of this month to mid-October, that they have enough to supply us until then. And that's when it gets a little bit shaky, when it comes to the paying our bills, basically. There's something else in here, I thought. Nope. That doesn't sound good at all. No, it doesn't. So this is where I brought this up. So October 11th to the 15th, they have another recess. Imagine that, going on another break. So this is kind of what I'm looking at. October, this time frame, I'm hoping they have something figured out by before then. If they don't, I don't think it's going to be good. So that's mid-October, and that's when they keep saying the Treasury can't do anymore. Like, that is their, the last ditch effort before everything kind of falls apart. But the other thing you guys have to remember is that, when it comes to even just the idea, the speculation that we could, default on our obligations as a nation, that creates a lot of instability in our economy. International investors are going to look at our economy and say, what the hell are they doing over there? Why are they doing this? What's going on? And so it does not fare well for us in that sense. And so, and then if they want to mint this $1 trillion platinum coin, this is why I have the effect of printing money on the economy. And this was back in 2017. That's when this article was written. 2017. We've been printing money like nonstop since last year, with all of the stimulus packages, all of the different bills, that they were passing and everything. We printed a lot of money last year, and then they're going to say, okay, well, we're just going to print this $1 trillion. We're going to mint this coin. Sorry, they can't print a coin. I don't know. And so this is where, like, the quantitative easing comes in. And I keep reading that they're going to start trying to ease it off. They're going to try to, so from what I understand with quantitative easing and how it's used and when it's used, it's very, very, it's like a drug to our economy, to our government, because it's very hard to get us off of it. It's very hard to start easing off of quantitative easing. But getting us as a country back to normal and bringing everything to normal rates and everything. So this is not a permanent solution. Wouldn't it actually be one coin for each bank? No, that's the funny thing. So that's what I was saying earlier, is that it's funny that they're wanting to mint this $1 trillion platinum coin, and then they're also requiring these banks to have $1 trillion in high quality assets or whatever. So gold, silver, whatever. So what is behind this $1 trillion dollar amount? We need to figure this out. Like, I'm kind of sketched out right now that there's this $1 trillion that's popping up everywhere. What is it about? Why do they need $1 trillion in platinum? What happened to all of our gold reserves? We don't have any. Our gold reserves are gone. They've been gone. That's Johnny, if you actually Tyler Hambone, Tyler, whatever you guys know him as, went over a little bit. So during Nixon, France called our bluff on our, gold-backed dollar, basically, and our gold reserves were gone back then. And so, that's why we actually went off the gold standard. We haven't had gold for a while. And that's why we're considered to have like the petrodollar. Our dollar follows, crude basically. And so, yeah, we are in faith backed. Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing is, it is a lot of it is faith backed, and how well is our economy doing? If everyone thinks our economy is doing really well, our dollar kind of goes up. Like right now, our dollar is our economy is not doing so well, and everyone's kind of feeling that, so our dollar just kind of keeps going down. Except for the other day when everything, gold and silver tanked and our dollar went up for some reason, which I thought was so weird. There was no reason for it. Yeah. Anyway, so quantitative easing is a dangerous addiction. This is actually what I was just talking about. Introduced as an emergency response to a severe fall in aggregated demand at the end of 2008 and in the beginning of 2009, quantitative easing has since become the main policy tool of advanced economy central banks. In principle, there is nothing wrong with this. Central banks have long bought and sold government bonds to influence the money supply, but the enormous scale of purchases during 2020 and 2021 in circumstances where the case for a substantial monetary injection was far from clear led to concerns about its impact on inflation. Inflation is what we now have, 5.4% in the US and 2.5% in the UK, with more to come. This acceleration of price is more than central banks were expecting. Recently, they've begun to backpedal on commitments to their strategy of lower for longer, made from when low inflation was expected to continue almost indefinitely. That's a start, but a deeper rethink of when and how to use QE is called for. It's literally a Band-Aid fix. It's the worst thing that we could possibly do for most things. And then the last thing I wanted to point out here, U.S. currency in circulation. We all know I like patterns. So I found this interesting. So right before the dot-com bubble, there was a high amount of currency in circulation. It doesn't really apply here. Well, yeah, because there's 12. So yeah, it actually works there too. And then 87 roughly is here. So yeah. We see these big, and there's that recession right there. So yeah, high amount of currency in circulation, and then we end up seeing a pretty drastic drop off. And so here's all this money that we put into the economy. What goes up must come down, right? And so this is just concerning me. I do have to look more into it, but it's up there. I don't know, guys. I am fearful. I am very fearful for, just the inflation, the, cost to live, especially if we have these, various things going around the country where you won't be able to, afford to live, or you can't make a paycheck or whatever. There's going to be a lot of people hurt by this. And I hope people are talking. I hope you guys are going out and talking to your neighbor, talking to your friends or whoever, and just being like, hey, you might want to keep your eye on it, because a lot of people don't even know. A lot of people aren't watching this. A lot of people, they have their day-to-day lives, which is perfectly fine, but at the same time, we need to keep the conversation going, right? Let's see, Jake. So when it comes to the debt ceiling this time, they really have to worry about inflation. If they raise the ceiling, are they worried this time around about hyperinflation? Are their hands somewhat tied this time around? Yeah. It's a very big double-edged sword at this point. So, they've already put, like I just showed you guys, they've already put all this money into the economy. Thankfully, some of us did put it back into the stock market, and we're just kind of making it work for us. But at the same time, they still have to worry about that. Like, I mean, think of like Venezuela and Zimbabwe and all these other countries that just started printing money for no reason. And you have people just walking around with trash bags now trying to give it away because their dollar's not worth anything. Thankfully, we do have the best thing that we have for our currency right now is that it is a reserve, and it is around the world. Like, people really do use it around the world, and it's used to buy, oil. So we do have that stability. I'm still hopeful that we don't hit hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is at a 50% increase. I'm very optimistically, blindly hopeful that we won't hit hyperinflation. God help us. Do I think it's going to get bad and it's going to be high? Hell yes, I do. I do. It's going to be bad. We see it already. I mean, just in the almost 3 years that we've lived here in Tampa Bay, our milk price has more than doubled. It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, unless you go to Sam's. Sam's is still under $4 a gallon. Eggs are getting expensive. Like I said, you guys gotta monitor your staple items. Bread, milk, eggs, meat, like chicken, things like that. You have to really kind of just kind of watch the staple items. Oil, your gas when you go fill up. I don't know if we'll see hyperinflation. I really hope we don't see hyperinflation. Our country won't survive hyperinflation. It's actually, I was reading about that actually lately, that if a country hits hyperinflation, like Zimbabwe and whatnot, they don't usually recover. They really don't recover easily. So I don't want that. I don't want to see that. Let's see. Hoovervilles are still a thing in this world. Look at Skid Row in California. Look at Oregon. All the homeless camps. Oh my gosh, yes. The homeless camps are craziness. It makes me really sad. I mean, like, so here in TB, we are finally starting to cool off. It's finally starting to cool off. But a couple months ago, when we were hitting like high 90s, saw a guy that was sleeping outside of a bank that was closed down with his dog. He had a shopping cart and I could see like waters and things, and like and he was sleeping, so I didn't, we weren't gonna go bother him by any means. But it's very just odd where I live to see that. Like, we don't have a lot of visibly homeless where I live, and so to actually see someone, it's hitting, it's starting, and that was kind of the wake up that Hambone and I needed, that we were like, okay, it's here. If it's hitting our little area, our little piece, because we don't live, in the metro area. We don't live or in the downtown area. We're out in kind of the suburbs. It's starting. Let's see, what else do we got? I'm not sure. They are worried, but good question. Aren't they looking at the Dems doing it somehow through their reconciliation, which only requires simple majority? Yeah, they're basically putting it on the Democrats. The Republicans don't want anything. They don't want their name tied to it. And the fact that they're blaming, the fact that they were trying to say, you're responsible for that $8 trillion that we printed last year or whatever it was. If I remember correctly, and it might be a little bit foggy at this point, but if I remember correctly, throughout 2020, the Republicans were the ones trying to do like under $1 trillion bills every time. Like, they were wanting to do like 500 billion or less every time. And the Democrat were like, no, we need all this stuff. We need this and this and this and this and this and this. If I remember correctly, that's why they were all fighting, because the Republicans didn't want to spend money and the Democrats wanted to spend astronomical amounts of money. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but just kind of how I remember it. And I did, like, you guys know, I don't lean one way or another. I don't go Democrat or Republican. Like, I'm right in the middle. Like, Libertarian is my party because, well, no one else has, there's no party that says, I like this of Republicans and I like this of the Democrats. No one has that party. Maybe I should come up with it, but I don't have any which way. So, no, I'm not, this isn't a Dem Republican favoritism over here, but I don't know, guys. Sorry. Let's see. I know McConnell said he wants no part of the bill, so it seems Dems might just have to do what they want. Portland is out of control. I know Johnny says LA is really bad too. Oh, I know. I've watched Portland and LA and Seattle. I've sat here many hours just watching what's happening, and it is atrocious. I cannot believe the things that are happening. Like, say what you guys will about Florida, but I will give it to our mayor in Tampa. She laid down the iron fist. Tampa Kurt, I'm sure will remember this, but it was over by Busch Gardens. There was an incident over there, and she basically came out and said, we will not be doing this. We will not be destroying our city. And not even that it was done. There we were basically put on curfew and treated like children after. I mean, the whole area, it was bad. She was not messing around. Hong Kong exchange is down 800. Really? Can't even put. Oh wait. Except for the lucky homeless on the boardwalk in Venice Beach, they got beachfront property. Yeah, I actually watched an interview with them recently. I say recently, a couple months ago, and they were like, people were like, "Are you gonna leave?" And they're like, "Hell no, we're not leaving." They're like, "Oh, even if we give you a place," they're like, "Hell no." They're not paying anything. They don't care, and I think that is something to consider. Some people don't care, but anyway, let's see. Right, no side is innocent here. Hasn't close to 50% of our money have been printed in the last 2 years. Yes, it's like it's either 50 to 60% has been printed in the last couple years, which is insane. Give me one sec, guys. Our daughter woke up, so I was just letting my husband know. Here's Brightside. St. Louis church. My sister volunteers at is building homes for homeless out of the storage containers. That's awesome. They made them really nice, and storage containers are cheap. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love little storage container tiny homes. They're the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I would do it. We actually looked at building a home out of tiny homes or out of storage units. Sorry, last year before we got our RV. we figured that would be a good way to start trying to figure if we could actually do it or not, instead of having these container homes and then trying to figure it out from there. So we actually can do it. We figured that out. I saw HSI is down 3%. Cracks me up because Conor McGregor and Arnold Schwarzenegger boat places in Venice Beach, and the homeless actually have better views. More power to them. Legitimately 33% of GDP in 2020. Yeah. GS is really going down right now. Is it? I'll have to look at it. They didn't do it because it was bulletproof, by the way. What? Oh, I see. Anchorage, Alaska homelessness has exploded in the last 3 years. Oh my gosh. I could not imagine being homeless in Alaska. I couldn't imagine that. That's too cold. Johnny, I remember chilling in Venice back in 96. I was a dumb teenager and we had so much fun watching all the street shows. Venice is very cool. Our boardwalk in Clearwater Beach kind of reminds me of Venice. It's not like all day like Venice is, but like the evening time is so cool. Like we have like the fire dancers and musicians and like all kinds of stuff. It's very cool. I don't know. Sorry. That's actually, if you guys do watch my Twitter, whenever I posted, if you know, that's actually where I was. Was down at Clearwater Beach. But yeah, no, it's there is a lot going on. And I don't know where we go from here, right? It's just craziness. So, I mean, if anyone in Discord wants to come up, like, I'm surprised nobody has come up here and joined me and my little ramblings here tonight. Like, you guys, I'm surprised no one was like, Kenna, you need to shut the F up. Just stop talking. Existence gonna come up. I have a friend, guys. I have friends. No, I'm just kidding. I love the strip in Clearwater. Oh my gosh, right? It is the best. It is the best place in the world. Hey, Existent, what's going on?
Well, I don't really have much to add, but you feel like you were a little lonely there.
I am so lonely. No,
I'm just working away. I was listening to you in the background, and you start nobody coming up.
Hey, I was just figuring if people were getting tired of me talking. I've been at it for 45 minutes, and yes, I've had a little pick me up with
I was interested in the $1 trillion silver coin. I'd like to get my hands on one of those.
Mm-hmm. You and me both.
All right, platinum coin.
Yeah. Some money does have to be reprinted for its wear and tear. My dad worked for the STL Fed, and I saw the money burn as a kid. I don't know how much of it. I am just saying some does. I mean, no, I understand that. Yeah, I get that. That's fine. Like, they're just, you know, it's not in circulation. Like, I'm very fearful. Like, I think that's the other thing that people have to remember. Like, our government officials, our elected officials, they're human. They are human. They are imperfect beings. They are susceptible to greed and, you know, just malice behaviors. And, you know, Ken, I know you have talked about big institutions shorting the market. Do we know if they are doing puts? Is there a large volume? Yes, I can actually show you guys. Give me 1 second. I haven't looked in a couple weeks because I just kept getting really mad about it. So this I will have the actual numbers tomorrow. I'll have them for you tomorrow. I'll see if I can find them. But let's see, what date am I looking for? 24th. All right. I'll try to find the actual numbers. But so this is what we're looking at here. This is for the S&P 500. So the red are the puts, the green are the call options. Right here, let's see, what is SPY sitting at right now? SPY is sitting at $441. There are 40,634 put options. So 400,000 no. Can't do math, guys. 4 million puts. 4 million shares out there for 368 strike price. So what would that be? So for it to drop $80? No. 40 and 40. Yeah. $80. Sorry, I'm like I said, my brain is shot right now. So we also have 29,828 puts at 430, 20,970 at 388. This fun one right here, 20,630 at 348. And this is for this coming up Friday. Let me have a few over here. If I go another week out, what would that be? Calendar, please. So the first. Well, the first isn't, too bad, I guess. They have 55,188 at 420. All right. Which ape did this? Which ape did this one? I have to know. So yeah, and then here, and then I can look at the VXX. Maybe if it's on here. Yep, VXX. So let's see. Do the first. Oh no, they have it going down. Let's see. Current price is at 27. I think it's going to 23. Let's see this one. There we go. What the... This is what I mean. So these far out of the money call options on the UVXY. This is what is crazy. This is what's crazy. I will get to that in one sec, that question. So we have 4,378 calls here, but tell me, and that was for a $22 strike price. We're sitting at 23 right now. Tell me why there are 5,788 call options for this coming Friday for $57. $57. Irritating. So yeah, that kind of gives you an idea. They are definitely betting against our economy in many ways, but I will try to find all the numbers for you guys for tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be Tuesday, because I am actually still working on the magazine. Which, do you guys want a sneak peek? I can kind of show you what I've done so far if you want.
You know, you might want to, before you dive into that, I know we're
yes.
getting on YouTube questions here. There's
Yep, I'm going.
I was say Poto Kai said if we default on our treasury bonds and debt for less than a month, is that still enough to trigger a catalyst to trigger a squeeze? And if we're my opinion, we don't want to default.
No,
really what Kenna had mentioned earlier with the U.S. dollar being a reserve currency. If we default, it would probably be likely that a lot of countries would look to move away from the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency, which really, removes a major backstop for our dollar losing significant value. So that's really the risk at defaulting, is that, all of a sudden we become not the reserve currency of the world. And there's a lot less people interested in our dollar.
Yeah, no, the uncertainty enough in our currency will be enough to possibly be a catalyst at this point. I don't want to see us default because, think about that. So, your grandparents and maybe even your parents who are on Social Security, like my parents are on Social Security, my husband has VA benefits, that part of our income in our household stops. It's a good chunk. It is a good chunk of money in our household. And so, that's just ours. Like there's other households, that have Social Security, disability, they're on food stamps. Like, it would be bad. It would be very, very, very bad. Even for 1 month. Because you figure, the housing forbearances are gone. That means the utility places, a lot of utility companies, they were following the forbearances. And so therefore, they'll go shut off the utilities. So it's not, I don't want to see us do that. It would destroy a lot. Sorry guys, I'm trying to catch up. I have calls on the VXX. Dropped to 28 tonight. Me too. UVXY, UVXY is the one I've been watching because it's a funny one. I don't have anything in it yet, and I probably won't for a while, because I'm waiting for I'm waiting for basically the top of MOAS to start getting into it. Not financial advice. This is not me saying anything about that. That is just me, my own personal ideas. I could be totally freaking retarded in doing it that way. Do not listen to me on that. Morning when the MSM has a repeat show on Fox and CNN, NBC, CNBC have the same date repeat showing, like Fox will show 9/18 repeat tonight. CNN will do the same. Imagine that. I'm not too sure if they can balance both. I'm thinking it would destroy too much. Yeah. New to options, just bought a single SPY contract for October 21st, 412 strike. Oof. That's sad. That is so sad. Thanks, Kenna. You rock. Thank you, guys. We won't default. It's political suicide. Never happened in our history. No, you're right, GS. It's never happened. But you know what? At this point, in our current time frame, in the timeline we're in, anything's possible. Like, the reason I say that is 2020 happened. No one saw 2020 happen like a freight train. So I just don't rule it out. I don't rule it out at all. Let's see. Most economists I've asked have said that if we default, it won't risk our reserve status because of how much global debt is based off the USD. Is that not correct? So I mean, it would have to be months. We'd have to be in default for months. It won't be like immediately. Like, it won't be immediately when we default. If we were to default, it won't be immediate that we lose our reserve status. Because, like, yes, I agree. A lot of the debt is based in USD around the world, but the uncertainty of our monetary system, if, you know, we go 3, 4, 5 months, it will be, the rest of the world will start looking towards, you know, the yen or the euro or something else that is more stable. Found the channel through Boss Blunts. Oh, my buddy. Boss is awesome. Yes, GME, AMC, Meta. We so GS, we are a broad market based platform. We cover it all. We really do. We've more so than I probably should, based on.
I'm not going to admit I'm not a GME holder. I got in after GME got its, like, you know, initial run up, and too rich for my blood to get in at this point. But I am an AMC.
Hey, that's okay. They're brothers. They're brother stocks, and I'm gonna get ridiculed for that, but I don't care. JK Link, I remember months ago I asked you your prediction for market crash was, and now we're in Q3 and it's looking grim. Isn't that really screwed up? Because did I not say, gosh, in February, March, everyone was asking me when I saw it happening. It's like Q3, Q4, optimistically Q1 of next year. I didn't want to be right. I did not want to be right at all. And when I actually started noticing that I could actually be right, I had a sinking pit in my stomach. I kid you not. I one of the days that I didn't do the podcast, I was like, I just can't today. Because it literally is a sucker punch. When you can kind of just see the writing on the wall, it kind of kills you. And you're like, man, like, what do you look forward to? What do you have to, you know, be excited about when you know all the crap that's going on, right? But that's where it's like, the thing that picks me up is that I can see it. I know I can help people. I can get the word out if I can find it. I'll do it. And that's what keeps me going. Like today, I'm not gonna lie. Today I was a little down in the dumps today. Just, I don't know, I guess self-pity. I don't know what it was. I was just kind of sad. But I was like, nope, you gotta keep going. Just keep going. You gotta just keep going. Because this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I gotta do. GME people are so uptight. No, they're not. Well, not all of them. Not all of them. I'm not picking sides. I'm neutral. I'm Sweden in this, guys. Shares are like tickets for a ride. You only need one if you know where to get off. No, that's right. I mean, I am sure that we will all probably just share money. Like, everyone's like, okay, how much did you get? Okay, let's divvy it up. Like, that would be kind of a funny little thing to happen. Like, if everybody just kind of pretty much divvied up all the money. Like, I don't know. It's a thought. Just ignore that. I think everyone here is in one or both when it comes to GME and AMC. I have both. GME holders are beautiful people on the inside and out. I think the infinity pool is more realistic for GME. So yeah, GME will go higher, without doubt. I have no doubt about that because their float is so much smaller. GME's float is so much smaller than AMC. AMC has just been adding shares to their float since January. So, yeah, no, GME, and I've said that from January, that GME will go higher. So, don't be peer pressured into buying GME. Don't let them peer pressure you.
Oh no, I'm all over the market, but it's everybody's like, hey, it only takes one share, just kind of.
I believe if I'm keeping up, with the ape sentiment of GME, I think it's at 50 million a share or something craziness. The ape sentiment, this is not my price point, guys. This is not my floor. This is just ape sentiment floor. I think it was 50 million the last time I saw. Plus, GME costs too much for people to invest in frivolously. Yeah, it does. Can you talk about the effect DRS will have?
There's one you missed there. Is AMC doing another share up in Q1? Right now, AMC doesn't have a lot of shares to offer.
Oh, yeah.
They tried to authorize more for future use, and it did not get approved by the shareholders. So right now, they do not have a lot of available shares to bring to market.
Yeah, no, they definitely shut that one down.
I think they have last I read, it was like 24,000 shares available now. So it's internally, so that's not much. In the grand scheme of things.
I'm guessing Nostalgia is talking about like the computer share. Is that what you're talking about? Computer share. I'm guessing that's what you're asking about, how it'll affect it. All I have to say is I love the stock. Heck yes. Love the stock. Love the company. I was trying to find a flagship store here. Who was it? King Diamond Hands. He was at a flagship. Is that what it's called? Flagship store. The thing was massive. So yeah, with the computer share, from my understanding, and I've been really trying to research it ever since everyone's been trying, talking. I've been trying to figure out if it's something, scandalous like the Say technology, all that other crap. So far, I'm not finding anything too bad. But
so I can speak a little bit to that. So computer share, I believe, is set as their transfer agent, their registration agent. And so I think a lot of people are talking about reaching out to computer share to request direct assigned shares. And DRS shares are a little different than publicly traded. So like, for instance, the place that I work, I have stock that gets issued to me, and it's done through DRS. And so I have to request that to be transferred out of computer share if I want to be able to buy and sell it on the open market. Otherwise, it's shares that are in a pool that is normally for employee compensation, bonuses, things like that. And so those shares, yes, they're equivalent to public shares. They're not actually tradable unless you request that they get transferred out of computer share. And I think what people are trying to do is possibly transfer retail shares back into direct registration. I've never seen where that's been possible. Usually DRS shares are only authorized by board and shareholder authorizations, and they get assigned into the DRS pool, and they essentially don't stay there, or they stay there, and then depending on internal company rules, they can either allow their transfer agent to go ahead and transfer them out if they get requested, or they can instruct their transfer agent to, in the case of like someone like me that wants to pull shares out, to have the company buy the shares back so they stay in the DRS pool and issue publicly traded shares during that transfer.
So, I mean, to me, what I was finding is that it's because I know at least with GameStop people, like a lot of GameStop people aren't actually selling their shares. Like they don't want to ever sell their shares, And so I know, from my understanding, is that it's a good thing in a way, if you are wanting to basically call out all of the synthetics in a sense, because it'd be all registered and everything, and so if they start getting more shares than what's supposed to be there, obviously it would help with that, and it might trigger the MOAS. I mean, it's a possibility, uh, but there's no guarantees by any means. But I mean, that would be the only thing I'd worry about is, if you're unable to sell your shares, if you're wanting to do that during the MOAS or whatever, I don't know how difficult it would be to start doing all of that. That would be my only hang up with it. But no, other than that, I don't see anything too.
I can tell you with experience, computer share is quite slow to transfer out of. So, I mean, if a squeeze is happening, and I believe Hallister wants to come up, if a squeeze is happening, you would essentially have to request a transfer that's almost like a brokerage transfer, and wait days to transfer out of computer share over to whatever other brokerage you want to do.
Let's see. Poto, my plan is to buy land in Washington State or Oregon, pay off my mother's debt, fund artists, and do good things for others with money I make. I keep that in mind daily. Yep, that is. I'm with you. I'm with you
I
on
have
that.
to ask, why Washington State or Oregon?
I mean, they're beautiful states.
Like, after getting lit on fire by rioters.
True.
I guess if you're buying land out in the the forests and things like that, then it'd be
Yeah,
nice.
and I'm looking at like Utah as an extra place because Utah seems very pretty. I hate Hallister. I hate To the Moon. And they should only use the shares you want to keep. Exactly, kind of. Yeah, they I mean, for me, guys, it's still this simple. Buy, hold, not transfer everything. Like I don't. I'm not doing anything more than I need to do, right? Like I'm literally just buying and holding and passing the word on and trying to, keep people informed. Like I was at the mechanic shop where our RV was, and I asked our mechanic, I was like, about GameStop, right? Because he's pretty knowledgeable. And he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, are you in it? He was like, no, I just don't have the money to do it. And so I think he said like the next dip he's getting in, but yeah. So I mean, it's just anyone I can actually get out and talk to about like GameStop, AMC, any of the meme stocks. Like I just say it. It's like word vomit at this point. Hey guys, sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Sorry, I'm tired tonight. I already took a nap, so I wasn't planning to come up and talk a lot, but we started talking computer share, so I mean Existent covered it pretty well. They're a transfer agent. Like the company lists using a transfer agent like directly, and so they're definitely not like a Say Technologies thing. I mean, it's not one of those deals where they are a legit company. Like they're like the listing transfer agent for like a significant percentage of like US equities. Um, so I know I had seen some things coming out like trying to attack their financial condition and different things like that. But I mean, I think that's just kind of BS and FUD. Um, and I guess similar to Existent, like I know like the company I'm working for now has their stock listed through Computer Share, and there's a program where I'm like allowed to buy it for a discount. Like I could take a certain percentage of my salary every quarter and elect to buy that company's stock at a discount, and then it would get put in book entry form like on Computer Share. And so like I guess the main difference is that like when you're registered with Computer Share, the shares are in your name, so they're not like in a street name of a broker. Which is basically like if you're buying it through any other broker, they hold the shares. The shares are in the broker's name, and then you have the entitlement to those shares through a broker, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's like big picture. I mean, everybody uses brokers to buy and sell stocks. I mean, that's been going on for a long, long time. I mean, it's the way that people talk about it or the way that people have been talking about it lately. I mean, it's not it's not bad to have your shares at a broker. So I mean, is there a reason to transfer? I mean, potentially, but does everybody have to transfer all their shares? No. I mean, I don't think that's the way
Yeah.
necessarily.
It's not
Yeah.
the way. Yeah.
Although there's a lot of hype about it.
It's usually not marginable as well. I know when they're directly assigned to you like that, they're not easily tradable and they're not marginable.
Well, exactly. Like they're not a broker, and that's not what it's meant for, right? Like it's really not meant for people to, you know, buy them, hold them in computer share, and then trade them, on like a frequent basis. And so, I mean, they do have fees. Their fees are generally higher than a lot of other brokers. Like if you want to make transactions, and it gets, oh, I say other brokers, they're not a broker. Um, and I mean, to your point, there there may be a delay in some of the transfer. Like, I don't think that you actually have to transfer them out somewhere else, like to trade them. I mean, I know like when I bought mine on there, like it took a few days for the cash to settle, and then after that, it took a few days for them to buy the shares. So it's definitely a slower process on the buy side. I think if you put orders in on the sell side, like I said, I haven't done it yet, but I mean, there may be some delay, but I don't think it's going to be as significant. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I just basically came to say, like, I mean, it is a legit thing. I mean, they're the company's transfer agent. They're a transfer agent for a lot of them. Like, is it what's going to cause everything to happen? No, not necessarily. And I mean, I've seen some different things about how, um, like the DTCC still has purview over those shares, like in some way, even though they're not necessarily being held by members. But that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I just wanted to help answer the question.
I appreciate it, Alistair. I mean, I just, I'm getting sketched out with all these different things that are like, take your shares here, put your information there, put it into the. Nope, sorry. Hey, Geo and Boss Blunts are in here, guys. If you haven't been following Boss Blunts, you need to go do it because his information is phenomenal. Like yeah, just go do it. And he's also on more than I am. Like he's like every few hours, like, hey, got a new video, go do it. So go follow his channel. I do have it up in the featured section of our YouTube, so you should be able to follow it pretty easily. Let's see. Yeah, he's a good guy. I have ex-GME, but that's where my focus is now. Life is a financial tsunami, right? What I was trying to work at has shut down twice in the last month from COVID. I want to secure my future. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, the craziness that's about to ensue, like, I don't know. I am, this week, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Like, I don't want to be hype about it. I don't want to be excited about it at all. Because it's like the minute I get excited for things like that, I kid you not. When I'm excited for a week, the entire market's red for the whole week. And I'm going, well, that was a disappointment. You're doing an ASA job. Thanks to you. I appreciate it. It's a good channel to follow for sure. Yeah, it is. Boss Blood stand. That's hilarious.
Let me add something to Hollister. Actually, he kind of filled in most of what I was going to step up and talk about on the CompuShare side of things. But there's one other thing that I read that sort of was an interesting angle that hasn't been included tonight yet. And it may be said, but the rationale is touching upon Hollister's point. The DTCC is a registered agent. When you go to CompuShare, you, the individual, it's registered in your name. The thought process is if everybody transfers over to CompuShare, when the float number gets transferred over to CompuShare and then additional people come forward with, hey, what about me? What about me? Then CompuShare has a legal obligation to start recalling shares at that point. So that was an angle that they were sort of using to kind of force the MOAS to get around the DTCC dragging their feet, et cetera, et cetera. So that was sort of an interesting way for them to be trying to consider CompuShare just another way to keep applying pressure to the they all know that there's synthetic shares, and they're just trying to figure out how to bring it to a head. That's the read I got on it. I'm with you, Ken. I'm like, I don't have that many shares to be worried about. But, I guess cumulatively, if everybody sort of joined into the movement, CompuShare would have a legal problem when the shares start exceeding the total float value, because they have they can't just not do something because they're responsible for dispersing the shares at some point. So that was sort of an interesting angle that hadn't gotten covered yet in the answer.
Wanted to make a comment here to Moon. I could tell you've been working with CompuShare for a long time, because it used to be called CompuShare and then it changed to ComputerShare. I still call it CompuShare as well, because I've been working around them for a long time.
Okay, so I'm not completely crazy, because I keep calling it both, and I keep seeing...
It used to be called CompuShare. I don't think they had the domain names and the licensing. Back in, 06, 08-ish, it was CompuShare. And then sometime in between there, it changed to ComputerShare.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not completely nuts, because I was like, wait, I thought it was CompuShare, and then it was ComputerShare, and then I'm seeing both, and I'm like, okay.
Anybody that calls it CompuShare has been around it probably, at least 10, 15 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, to your point, Hollister, they also administered my retirement. When I used to work for the State Department, we had a civilian company that our retirement plan got put into, so it was in our name. And yes, if I decided to cash out some of my retirement, it took weeks before all that stuff got settled, because I had to transfer it out of the retirement plan that was administered by CompuShare, and kind of had to go into the market to sell my shares. So yeah, it definitely is not something, if you're in a hurry to do something, that's not the way you want to go on CompuShare.
Interesting. So I'm going to catch up. So apparently they're going to try to get us on Joe Rogan. Guys, I did send Joe Rogan a message to see if he'd actually come on or something, and tagged a few, mentioned a few other people, Boss being one of them, and Jackson Hunter and stuff. So we'll see. I don't plan on anything happening from it, but we're trying. Let's see. Anxiety was through the roof today from all the research I've done, but the stream's calming down. That's what we try to do. I mean, it's simple. This is literally the easiest thing you're going to do in your life. Easiest thing you're going to do. Buy one share. One share should be able to, if you're in GameStop, maybe 5 shares of AMC, maybe. Whatever. Just buy and hold. That's literally the easiest thing you can do. And just check the charts, set alerts if you don't want to look at your charts every day, if you don't want to pull up your broker every day. Lord knows I hate looking at it every day some days, because I'm just like, yep, that one's down, this one's up. Okay, good to know.
Let me sort of help calm your nerves a little bit. I know you've been kind of keyed up all week about this debt ceiling, and I appreciate the fact that you certainly have concerns. It has been pointed out, though, the idea of default, no politician would allow a default to happen unless they're planning on committing, suicide for the United States. But I think I want to sort of help maybe adjust your thinking a little bit when you start talking about Social Security not making payments, et cetera, et cetera. The debt ceiling is being negotiated. They know they're going to go over budget, so they have to borrow additional money. That doesn't mean they go to zero. It just means until the debt ceiling is solved, they'll kind of like close down the national parks to take that budget and put it into Social Security to keep those payments going. So there's essential, non-essential, critical. I mean, there's different layers that are going to get sacrificed. And we got miles to go before they start cutting off Social Security pensions and things like that. I mean, you would talk about a national mutiny. It'll be, that'll be the whole country is going to start revolting if you start taking out, government pensions and things like that. So
well, that's
I
the
think
thing.
you need to kind of relax a little bit. It's not going to get that bad.
Well, no, that's literally like what they're talking about right now is like, since it's in a situation that we've never seen, well, imagine that this year. Like that's actually something that they're looking at, is cutting, like not paying out right now is Social Security and all of that. Like that's what they're literally like. That's why the Dems are like looking at the Republicans going, what are you doing? Like, we need to be able to pay these people.
They would have to make moves to do that specifically. The debt ceiling stop that. Debt ceiling only stops non-essential. Anything
Exactly.
the ratings continues to get paid whether the debt ceiling is there or not.
Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
So
it's not like they close the treasury down and say you can't have any money to operate with. They just are negotiating. How much more are we negotiating over our ceiling? And they're going to go back and forth until November when the elections come around. They're going to have it solved long before the elections. Everybody's trying to make everybody else look bad. And so they play chicken. They've done this, it happened during the Trump administration every year. I hate to say it, but I'm starting to get so used to this bullshit. It just doesn't even faze me anymore.
I hope you guys are right, but I will be hunkering down and preparing for the worst.
And they have to actually change. They would actually introduce a bill to stop things like Social Security and military payments and all the really things that have been deemed essentials. Those don't. That's one of the reasons why the whole debt ceiling thing is almost entirely political. It's used as political fodder because it shuts off things like they close the national parks and they shut the gates on a national park because they can't pay the people to be there or pay the maintenance to clean the park to take the incoming fees and fun stuff like that. And so, everybody that's listening in, it looks like the government is shutting down, but it's really only the non-essential things that you can see up front.
Yeah.
Well, so I do want to say, I remember at one point during Hambone being in the military, we actually didn't get payment during one of the shutdowns. Like when they were shut down, like the military didn't get paid.
Is he active?
He was active.
Yes, and I remember when that happened. That's happened on more than one occasion, but they don't throw you guys out. I mean, you're not getting paid, but they're also not making you pay your bills either.
We had to pay. Oh no, we had to pay our bills because we weren't living on base. We still had to pay our rent. We had to pay our electric. We still had to pay our bills. We got it. Once it restarted, we got all of the back pay and stuff. Yeah, it kicks back in, but that was a precarious situation because we were out in Hawaii. It was bad.
Pretty expensive to be broke out there.
Yep.
But the upside is you guys could have been homeless in some pretty nice weather while you're waiting to get paid.
Actually, I think that was during the hurricanes that were coming. No, I didn't want to be homeless during that point. No, that'd be terrible. But no, I don't know. Like, that's why I said, like, I'm keeping my eye on this because I just don't trust him anymore. I don't trust him.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but look at the world picture. We don't have to trust our government, but the government can't let the world down. Has been pointed out. The dollar. There's so many people around the world dependent upon the dollar to be there. That's sort of our backstop for, we can't devalue the dollar to the point where we're no longer a credible nation. The whole rest of the world is going to be in a world of hurt if we allow ourselves to get to that stage. So, I kind of want to sort of calm your nerves a little bit. I think this is a lot more political maneuvering than it is anything else. I
mean, my nerves are fine. I'm fine. I'm not shaken by this, but I don't know. Like,
I don't mean shaken, but you seem like they're really, you seem kind of like the sky is falling sort of attitude by everything you're reading, and that's fine. I mean, I appreciate that. I'm just saying, I'm a little older than you are. I've been watching this stuff happen so many times now. It's like, they always make everybody panic, and then everybody's relieved. Oh my God, our politicians pulled it out the last minute, and it's just, I don't want to say it's nonsense, but like your point about minting $1 trillion coin and how that worries you. What's our money back already? We already don't back it with anything. So what's the point? If we want to mint $1 trillion coin, we can mint 100 of them if we want. That's my point. Value of the dollar is whatever the government says it is.
No. Don't do that. We don't want to do that. That's what kills that's literally what kills our money, is us continuing to print it though. Like,
I don't disagree, but the point of minting $1 trillion coin, it's really just sort of it's a token political statement they're making. We don't back our money with anything already. So, what difference does it make if we mint another coin that says we do? It's whatever our politicians say it's worth is how we're going to get through it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're at their mercy. Jake Brad says, good to hear another view. Yeah, 100%. This is what we do at the BullHouse. This is what we do. Like, To the Moon is definitely the counter to me 100% of the time. I shouldn't say 100% of the time. 75% of the time.
I would rather say I'm more the calming force rather than the counter. I'm not questioning. I mean, I love your energy and I love the research you do and I love the spirit by which you form your views. I was your age once and I used to feel the same way. We're never going to make it another 10 years. And, that's been 30 years now. I mean, I sort of have gotten numb to worrying about what the government can do to take care of me. I just got to have enough of my own personal private money that, okay, according to this, I've got enough money in the bank that I don't have to worry about the government trying to screw me over, as long as the banks don't figure out how to take my money away.
Speaking of, okay, so I'm going to ask you that question in just a second. Let's see, does he still foresee a downturn? And then Can't Stop says, I disagree that they won't let the dollar fail because the world depends on it. Why wouldn't countries like China want it to fail so they can step in, or the EU? I believe it's also political. Yeah, no, it's 100% political. It's all theater. It's whether or not is it the Trojan horse, I guess, is a good reference. But we'll get to Jake's question in a second. I will ask you, To the Moon, your thoughts on Biden potentially letting the IRS snoop through bank accounts that have $600 or more, or have had $600 in transactions within a year. What's your thought process on that?
I think it sounds good if you are a Democrat trying to make friends with the commoners that don't have any money in the bank. It sounds pretty good to be able to say, I'm going to get into the bank accounts where all these people got money and see what's really going on and start, semi-acting like they're going to start making seizures. Again, that doesn't happen just because the president says he wants it to be. I mean, it sounds great to listen to him say it, but pulling it off is a completely different, you don't just do that. That's not something a president can just say tomorrow, hey, I'm going to start doing it. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, no problem. It doesn't work that way.
Oh, no, wait, so you're saying it's a good thing. See, I'm so against it. Like, you need to stay away from my bank account. You don't need to be seeing
No. He wasn't saying it's a good thing. He was saying it's a good, he said it might be a good point, like, in terms of him pandering to his audience. Like, they might eat it exactly. up.
But, okay, if I have any Democrats in here, do you guys want that? Because if that's a Democratic thing, I'm really curious now.
I think it's probably not necessarily all Democrats, but I think it's probably pandering to people on the lower end of the poverty scale that don't have more than $600 in their bank account. They're more inclined to say, yeah, we want the government to look into rich people's accounts that have more than $600, so that they can make sure that they're paying the right amount of taxes. And there's a lot of people that fall into that level of poverty, that may be having that kind of a thought. And this won't affect me because I don't have $600 in my account. And for most of us that I've thought about that a little bit. It's something that we absolutely don't want. It's none of the government's business.
Right.
Nope. I'm sorry, you don't need to see all my random subscriptions to Netflix and Hulu and HBO Go coming out every month.
What I thought was interesting was initially I had heard that it was only $600 in your account, but upon further reading, it looks like it's $600 balance and or $600 in transactions. In I believe it said a year, and I was like, so all bank accounts.
pretty much. But I mean, I guess To the Moon's point is a good one in that, like, just because he says that doesn't make it happen. And if you think about like the type of systems that they would have to build, and the connections that they would have to build, I mean,
they already have them.
In order to tap into all that stuff instantly.
Yeah, because I mean, think of all the stimulus checks that they just started doing. All these different, like we get our child credit every month. Like
that wouldn't allow them to see in, but with the regulatory bodies that we have in place, it would be quite simple for them to adjust and say you need to submit a balance summary file of all accounts monthly or weekly. You would be amazed at a lot of the banking regulations.
Yeah, and then the financial stocks would go in the toilet because think
Yeah.
about how much effort that takes, right? Like they would just, I
Exactly.
mean, hey, that'd be the new Jobs Act, right?
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
in
hell, the
IT
banks
at a
would have
bank.
to
I
hire,
I
hundreds of
agree.
thousands
Yeah,
of people to produce these statements for the government for 300 something million people.
I agree, but I don't know if anybody has read. Most of you guys aren't in California, I don't think, but I don't know if any of you guys have read CCPA, California Consumer Protection, pretty much like GDPR, and it is an insane amount of costs and steps and features and everything that we have to put in to be able to allow people to reach out and say, what information do you have on me, and then turn around and say, okay, please delete all the information you have on me, and to be able to do that within very specific prescribed time frames, and then of course be able to compare it against, if a regulator says I have to have account data for X amount of time or loan data for X amount of time, now I have to know that yes, I have a consumer that's asking me what information I have and asking me to delete it, and I have to respond back and say, yep, I deleted everything that I could delete. We've had to retain these 14 elements around your loan file based on regulator requirements, and all of that we've had to implement. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. I mean, it is
government
really
doesn't
interesting.
care
Of course, I
about
mean, I'm not against like the privacy aspects of that, but I mean, I definitely have a view on the cost of compliance because I've worked kind of in and around compliance for a long, long time. But that's probably a story for another evening. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's super interesting. I
Oh,
mean, the one thing that keeps me comfortable when it comes to like monitoring of data like that to a certain extent is that I just there are mountains and mountains of data out there and like not enough people to look at it. It's like I know we have AI, I know we have data mining, I know there's, things that could be gone through really quickly and flagged and everything, which I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing. I don't want any part in any of that. But there's just not enough uh, manpower essentially to go through all of that information, especially for the average person.
well, and not only that, let's just assume for a minute that the government could figure out how to pull it off. Once you and I and anybody else that had 601 and more dollars, we'd have that money out of that bank account so fast that it would collapse the whole financial system. You just pull your money out. I mean, I'd rather have cash in my mattress than let them figure out how to take it out of my bank account. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, that would be
And
my,
my,
that would be my concern. All the money would move out, and including myself. I would be looking at stable coins and moving into something that tracks to the dollar, but isn't trackable.
mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, I'm not going to say, it's impossible for it to happen, but I don't think anything in the United States would ever allow that to take place and still be called the United States of America. I mean, that's part of why we have become, the country we have is, private money is private money, and private people are allowed to spend their money and keep it any way they want to. And if you want to make that unfriendly, watch that money go overseas. I mean, there's plenty of overseas bank accounts that are hiding their assets for just this kind of reason.
Looking at you, the Cayman Islands. No, but no, I think you guys are absolutely. That would be my biggest concern with it. It's literally what you said. Is people? It would be a run on the banks, and you would see everybody pulling their money out. The banks wouldn't be able to, they'd be screwed. They'd be so screwed.
Yep.
So that's where it's like when I actually heard that he wanted to propose this, I was like, you have gone batshit. You are so nuts right now. This is not a good thing. Craig Anthony, thanks for the like and the subscribe. I appreciate it. That is so epic of you. But now I don't know.
It's just like them saying, we're going to expose Donald Trump's tax returns. Donald Trump is still a private citizen. I mean, that sounds great, and I know a lot of people are behind the whole. We want to see his tax returns, but I mean, you've got to make an exception to the law to expose a private individual's tax returns. It sounds great, and it gets votes, and that's what it's all about.
God help us. That's all I have to say is God help us. I don't know. I hope you guys are right. Like I mean, maybe this is my one time I'm wrong. I hope I am with a lot of
Well,
what
kind of think about it. There are foreign countries and foreign people that put money into our American banking system specifically because it's safer than doing it where they live. So, if you start jeopardizing that, now in addition to Americans, now you're going to have foreign countries that are going to pull billions out of the banking system.
Oh, I know, and that was my big argument for why the MOAS is going to
Right.
happen. That was my biggest argument with it, was because we have foreign investors. The free market, the idea of the free market. You take away that idea and the security of our economy, there goes our economy. And I hope, I really, 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 really hope that nobody jeopardizes that. But I mean, what do you do? I mean, 2008 they bailed them out. 87 they literally put in a thing that said, nope, we can't let the financial system collapse. Too big to fail. Blah blah blah. And now they're greedy and ruthless. I mean, it's
Well, that's fine, but you start multiplying that by however many, 300 million people in this country. So you figure 210 million of them got over $600 in the bank account. You talk about a failure of our economy. That's way too big to fail. I mean, you can't, AIG, yeah, it was too big to fail, but you're talking about, maybe $20 trillion. You're talking about a whole lot more than that if every citizen over $600 starts pulling their money out of the account.
Oh yeah, I do know. No, I'm gonna keep my eye on that. But I mean, there's just a lot to watch right now, and I don't know which way to look anymore. And
That's what I'm trying to help you with, Ken. Don't let this stuff work on you as hard as you're letting it work on you. I mean, think about the theory that we just covered. You can get your head behind that theory by hearing somebody else sort of talk to you about it. Go forward with all this stuff you're reading and getting the sky is falling approach. That's exactly the kind of fear that they're trying to capitalize on.
well, no, it's not even about the sky is falling. Like to the moon. Like back in January, February, I could see the pattern of crypto. I could see the pattern of, real estate and everything like that. These are all patterns I see. This isn't them. Like, I don't watch mainstream news. Like, the fact that I basically figure out a theory. I look at the pattern. If I can find it, cool. If not, I dig a little bit deeper and find it where I can to prove or disprove what I'm thinking. No, this isn't. I mean, I know it sounds bad. It sounds sky is falling, but I'm on this thing with 1929, and we are due. We're due. The cyclical events between real estate, the stock market, the economy in general, the country, on an economic stand, we're due for some kind of crisis. And I'm just trying to figure out which catalyst is going to just be that domino that just kind of kickstarts it.
And I admire everything that you do your research on. And for the most part, I follow your logic and I concur with it. I mean, I totally agree. I think the next quarter and the first quarter of 2022, if we can get through that, we might be able to squeak by. But we got a rough 6 months ahead of us from the looks of things.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, it's so when you figure you follow the fourth turn, we have 7 years, right? We've got a very rough 7 years coming up on just BS. And so I don't know, I don't ever want to be, sky is falling, but I the worst thing that happens if I'm wrong is people are prepared and become self-reliant. That's the worst case scenario if I'm wrong. If they're wrong and they sit here like that, I mean, that the fact that they were sitting there saying, oh, inflation won't hurt us, the inflation won't be bad, blah blah blah, and now it's like, oh, this might actually hurt a little bit. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with distrusting our government. We're completely on the same page there, completely. So I don't want you to think I'm going to be counter about the whole distrust of the government. It's just more a matter of we got to learn how to stay on our feet and less dependent upon the government, because when it does fail or when it does try and bend us over, we're going to be smart enough to stay ahead of that.
100%. And that's how, and we just keep talking. Generations is just like I learned from you and you learn from me, and existent Hallister different generations experience different things, and somewhere in there's going to be some kind of solution.
I mean, my attitude is if and when the MOAS happens, the financial markets are probably going to start caving. So my first move is I'm going to start shorting all the financials. I mean, like within a week.
That's fair. I mean, I'm going to be hiding my money in real estate, land, like It's gonna be hidden and tangible objects, that's for sure, and some crypto. That's about it. Just squirrel it away.
Well, yeah. So anyway, all right. I just kind of wanted to sort of help bring you back to, we're going to get through it. But like you say, talking about it and learning from each other helps, because I was like you in the 70s. I'm like, man, we're never going to make it through the 80s. And then the 80s were the biggest decade that in my lifetime. I was like, man, everybody was making money in the 80s. And then, we're never going to make it through the 90s. And here we are, we're coming in the 2020s now. So, and my dad was saying the same. My dad was a Depression child. He grew up during the Depression. And he's like, if my dad can make it through the Depression, we can make it through the Depression. It's just a matter of you got to learn how to be self-sufficient. And, the value that we see in things is going to be shifted if the government collapses and the financial markets collapse. But we already know the value is going to be in self-sufficiency. That's what we need to start teaching our people more of, instead of, the government's going to take care of us, or it's going to be okay because my bank says it's going to be okay. That's nonsense. But the young people, it's easy for the young people to kind of be led, because they don't have y'all haven't got your ass kicked a few times like the older guys have, like me. I mean, I've been through enough this stuff that I'm kind of like, how bad can it get? I mean, they'll just print more money and bail everybody out if they have to, rather than fail. And it might mean the world has to, recoil for 10 years. But hey, it's not like it's the first time it's happened.
No, I'm with you. I mean, to be fair, I've had my ass kicked a few times. You know that. No, I think that's kind of what sets me apart a little bit from a few people. I've almost been homeless. I've gone 2 weeks without electricity and hot water, and walked a mile just to have a cup of ramen. Like I've lived that life, and it's hard. But to be honest, me and Hambone, we sit here and talk about it. Like, that was actually a very big defining moment in our life. Like, we learned, like, we'll get through it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We will get through it. So yeah, and that was during 2012. That's why I said 2012 was a rough year for us. And I mean, it was like we were donating plasma. We were getting free things off Craigslist and trying to, fix them up and rehab them and whatnot. It's like doing odd jobs, whatever we could do, like, right? So it's no, I've had my ass kicked a few times with that whole, and even from just not even just that, but that's what we need, is just to be able to help teach, how to be self-reliant, growing your own food, if you're allowed to legally collect rainwater or whatever you can do, and solar power and whatnot. Like, if you got to be able to get off grid, you got to be able to get off grid.
Well, one of the things, and I have a friend of mine who sort of helps keep things in perspective. He's sort of like, my energy to me is like my energy to you, because he's older than I am. And he's like, Social Security was the worst thing that ever happened. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, there's no security in Social Security. They made us believe that they're going to take care of us if they just take a little bit of money out of our paycheck every week. And I'm like, yeah, crap, we are running out of Social Security. Everybody before Social Security was self-sufficient. You saved money. You didn't get yourself in a bunch of debt because you needed to keep that money. And Social Security was sort of like, oh, well, crap, the government's going to take care of us. Yeah, that's sort of made a real bad attitude for a lot of years since then. And welfare. I mean, all the social programs, people have sort of gotten used to the idea that, oh, well, if we pay in, we're all going to be taken care of. And I think, we're kind of at a point in our history where we're all starting to go, yeah, that shit ain't working out too well for us.
Yeah, I'm of the expectation that by the time I'm ready to retire, Social Security won't be there. And we can always hope that, yes, it will be, and it'll be providing something for me, but I'm planning that it's not. Because I've got a long way in the work environment still, and I don't expect it will be there or significantly be there for my generation and future generations.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get off track here a little bit, but I'll sort of close it, because this is I'll say my older, more wiser friend. He proposed about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he said, instead of putting it in the Social Security system, they should put it into a 401k, put it in the stock market, let it be an equity, a forced equity savings account, because if you look at the history, it's the free market that has paid out better than anything else. And I'm like, yeah, that really does make more sense. If people don't want to save, then take it out of their paycheck and you save for them and put it into equity markets like everything else that has historically been better than what the government does for us.
Yeah, but that doesn't let the government raid the Social Security Trust Fund.
Right. That prevents them from being able to do that. That's correct.
I mean, either that or bring back pensions, right? Because I mean, that's what I was talking about this a little bit the other day in a different conversation. But I mean, at least pensions, it's like, yeah, they were horrible for companies' balance sheets. Like they created a lot of liabilities for the companies, and for them to get rid of them was a big boon for them. But I mean, at least it created more of a connection between Main Street and Wall Street. Like the companies were managing the investments, and we would share in the gains potentially, but they were responsible for the liabilities regardless of what happened. I mean, now with the whole 401k, like you've got a defined contribution plan as opposed to a defined benefit plan. People put money in the market. We have the rise of all these market makers. We see the stuff that's going on in the market. We see like what happened in 08, what happened in the 80s. I mean, these market crashes. I mean, you just hope that you're not trying to retire in one of those times, because then you're just kind of SOL. Whereas like under a pension plan, it was defined benefit. It's like, yeah, the company takes a hit. And I mean, I guess theoretically, I mean, they could go bankrupt and you could lose everything too. So that's potentially the downside there. But, at least at a minimum, it created a shared interest between the company and the employee. And, that money was being managed in a certain way where the companies are responsible for it. I'm not saying it is the way. It's just, I mean, the whole 401k thing. I mean, I'd certainly contribute to one. I think it's important for everybody to have one, but it's not a panacea.
I'll give you a closing statement that's happened in my life. So you talk about getting your ass kicked, and I mean, I'm behind it now. So I was a civilian contractor for the State Department, and I worked for a company called Rockwell International. And it was huge. And when peace broke out all over the world, they said, well, you're going to have to find a job because we don't have anything for you that's State Department DOD related. And I went to work for the shuttle program. Same company. Rockwell also happened to build the space shuttle. We were, a huge conglomerate. And so I went to work for the space shuttle program. And I left on my own accord, started my own company and left. And when I left, about 2 years after I left, I got a letter that says, hey, Boeing Space Operations has bought out Rockwell, so you are now a Boeing retiree. I'm like, 42, what do I care? Okay, great. I wad up the piece of paper and throw it away, not thinking anything about it. And I turned 55, and about 2 weeks after I turned 55, I got a letter from Boeing. It says, so Boeing has evaluated you are a legacy retiree. So I was entitled to a pension, health care benefits, and of course my 401k. And I cashed out my 401k when I left the company. So I still knew I had a pension and I had healthcare benefits. And Boeing said, yeah, we just can't afford you. And so we're going to give you 15 cents on the dollar lump sum payment, or you get nothing. And you got 2 weeks to decide. You talk about losing my crap, Kenna. You thought, if you think the sky is falling in your world, I'm like, oh, hold on a second. My whole retirement plan just got screwed over. So I went to an employment attorney, and they're like, they figured out how to screw people over. So to your point, yeah, the companies, they don't, they're not interested in taking care of the employees anymore. So when all Boeing problems started happening for 737s, I'm like, man, it couldn't have happened to a nicer damn company because they screwed me over. So I hope to hell they get what's coming to them. It just literally, they just did not want to factor into. In fact, they even gave me the formula and said, well, we have to have an 8% return until you hit 63, and we can't get that kind of return, so we're just going to bail on you. I'm like, this is bullshit. I can't believe it's legal. So yes, it can be. So never rely on anybody else taking care of you is, I guess, the best wisdom I can give everybody in this phone call.
100%. Holy crap. That's there are no words. There's no words that I'm going to say on the stream.
I don't even want to begin to tell you the words that I had to, stop figuring out how to say for about 2 months. I was the maddest I've ever been. But, I got it behind me, and I take my 401k, I invested in real estate, and I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to have anybody to tell me what I'm entitled to. I'll make it happen on my terms. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. But now I'm at the point where I'm at retirement age. I'm like, man, there's $600,000 that I'm never going to see. I got to put it, I got to start making something work for me. So that's why I started getting back into the market here recently. So anyway, I mean, that's a little bit of my story and some of the wisdom that I've learned about getting my ass kicked along the way.
God, I appreciate you sharing it. That's terrible. I'm really sorry about that. Like it's not. It's so cliche, but that's not fair, right? Like what?
Really not fair. I mean, if I would have known I would have gotten screwed, I would have told Rock, I'll take care of my own money and invest it my way, instead of a certain amount of your salary is going to become pension when you reach a vested time frame. I knew I was vested, so I wasn't really worried about it. But then to have that pulled out from underneath you, I'm like, well, hold on a second. I had my budget already calculated for when I retire, and you guys just screwed me out of about 40% of it.
Yeah, no, and that's where it's like, the best thing, I don't remember who said it lately, but the best advice that was given and could be given to, my generation and future generations is to become an entrepreneur. And I will never forget hearing this because it really put it in perspective. Because remember, guys, I worked in a hospital. I worked for a wage. I worked, for a set amount of money. And it really kind of hit me when they said, why are you letting someone else dictate what you're worth? Holy crap. Like, I mean, you think about that, like, because, you go into these jobs and you say, oh, I want to make X amount, or I need to make X amount. And it really hit me in that sense of, why is somebody telling me I'm only worth X amount when I do this much work? Like, that's, right. It doesn't make sense to me. And so, when we started, the first realization of what I could potentially make in life was when we had formed a shisha company back in 2014. Unfortunately, we still have the recipe. We could make it easily still, but unfortunately, the FDA, right when we were getting ready to launch, was like, haha, we're adding this rule where it's like $1 million to have each one of these flavors tested and all this other stuff, and we said screw it. And we thought about selling the company, but then I had surgeries and everything else, so it's just kind of tucked away with its business plan and everything. But then we also have our real estate business, our photography business, and that was a godsend. And how it's a very enjoyable thing, and now I'm doing the same thing with BullHouse, and getting it registered and becoming a business. And so it's like, I'm a workaholic. So like yesterday, I think I put 16 hours in with the magazine and doing the podcast and everything. Like I worked about 16 hours yesterday, and I love it. Like right now, no, I'm not making much at all. I don't ask for anything. I don't want anything because eventually it'll come with the MOAS and everything. Like I love what I do. I'm enjoying everything that I'm doing right now. So don't ever think of me saying I'm working 16 hours as like some kind of pity. No, I love what I'm doing. Designing and writing and getting to talk with you guys and pass off information and whatnots. And I'm very blessed that I get to do it with my husband. So that's just icing on the cake because he's my best friend. But why I say this is that I enjoy working to this point where, I don't have to clock in and clock out. I don't leave, this or this or this on the table for the next day. I get to complete what I'm doing, and make a difference. And so, that's the, I could be doing that, I'm doing this for free. So clearly I love what I'm doing because that's what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to love exactly what you're doing, that you would do it for free. And that's, I've made decent wages throughout my life, and I hated my work. It wasn't enough. I was like, I'm not getting paid enough. Whenever I have those thoughts, I'm not getting paid enough to do what I'm doing, that's when you're done. That's the minute you need to be done, is if you're not driven by just enjoy and excitement of what you're doing, that's when you just need to clear your head and say, okay, step back. What am I actually doing with my life? And do I want to do this for the next 40 years? If the answer is very quickly no, reevaluate. Never too late to reevaluate. And that's me speaking at 31. I'm very young, and the fact that I could figure this out was kind of pretty cool. But I'm sure
Well,
Tiedemann.
in my day, it was absolutely normal to get a 401k. You contribute, and then your company contributes. What's called matching. And in my case, they did 100% match at 18 months. So you're doubling your money every time you put anything in. Now, I'm here to tell you, as a young person, you think, I don't need to put 10% in. I can only do that with 3% of my income and save the other 7% for doing the fun stuff because they're matching it. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, if you're ever working for a company that still offers that, I don't know how common that is anymore. But if you ever get in a situation where they tell you, put something and they'll match it, that's always the best deal you're ever going to get. And they can't take that money away from you because that is guaranteed by the government. And I cashed mine out, but still, I mean, I took it for granted as a young person, and you're 23 years old, and you're thinking, crap, 7%, I don't make that much. I'm going to sort of, I'm only going to put 3% in, 4% in. I wish I would have put, my maximum in, because I would have been perfectly content with my retirement now.
I
Yeah,
second.
I
Always
agree on
put
that.
in whatever you can to get your full matching, because it's essentially free money.
Yep.
It is. It's free money and it's tax advantage money too. And I mean, that's the thing.
Yep.
It's like I mean, especially if you're getting a new job, like if you're getting a job with a company that offers one of those, just put as much as you can from the beginning. Like you won't notice what you never had, right? So,
Right.
if you just do it from the beginning and you're disciplined about it, then you'll make it work. So
I'm doing your money for free. You'll never get a better deal than that.
No.
When they do 100% match, it's like, you don't really think about it being free money because you think, man, I'm not going to see that until I'm 63, 60, whatever your retirement age is going to cut off is going to be. When you're 20, it's like, that seems like it's going to be forever and it's not worth thinking about. But I'm here to tell you, now I made good use of my 401k. I started my own company and I never looked back. But, for the people that don't have that in them to want to risk that kind of stuff, that is a pretty good retirement that I don't know is still being offered. It seems like the corporations have sort of done away with that whole, company contribution and matching. And I mean, it seems like that's really fallen out of favor because it does cost them a lot of money. And
yeah, I mean,
to your point, Hollister, I mean, it's all about the accounting and finance and the stock prices over the next quarter. So it has fallen out of favor a lot in the last 15 years.
yeah. Yeah, I mean there is still a lot of matching. I mean, it's usually not unlimited and it's not necessarily that high. I mean, I saw GS said in chat, just about everywhere will match up to about 4%. And I mean, that's pretty consistent with what I see. They don't go all the way up, but I mean, they do give some matching typically on the first few percentage points of your income that you contribute.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's not entrepreneurship either. We were talking about that.
Well, when you're young and full of yourself and think you can take on the world, you think, man, I can make 100% of my money. I just got to be smart about it. And, I mean, I'm not going to say I don't have, I have built some moxie through that idea, but the whole concept is stay working for us for your whole life and you'll have a comfortable retirement. That's starting to get abandoned by a lot of corporations, and Boeing was the first one that taught me that lesson. I'm like, holy crap, they're like a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company, and they're screwing me over. I mean, and so Boeing's been on the downward spiral ever since that happened. And like I say, it couldn't happen to a nicer company as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. I mean, that was certainly an impactful story from my perspective.
100%.
And I just saw today a headline where Boeing has put up $200 million in land sales because they got to start raising some capital. So again, couldn't happen to a nicer company.
Oh Lord, I mean I think it's gonna get pretty bad. I mean, and that's the thing is that there's like they used to say, oh, there's no employee, loyalty or anything like that. No, there's no employer loyalty anymore. Like,
right.
It's so stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, that's where the formula has flipped. When my dad, he was of the generation where you go to work for a company, you work for them for your whole life, and you'll get everything that they promised you. And he retired and it never got interrupted. He died. My mom got to keep his pension going. And, that's back when corporations budgeted that in for the next, 80 years of operations. And that's how General Motors got in trouble. I mean, that's what's sort of been the downfall of a lot of these corporations is they just couldn't figure out how to keep making enough money to stay ahead of it. So that's the lesson for everybody. I think that's what we're talking about is, with the idea of having endless supplies of money to pay out all these benefits are a thing of the past now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, come on, MOS, right? we can do it that way. We'll just it's like a cheat code, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, guys. We are touching the 2-hour limit. Jesus. We got a lot of information in today, and I'm really happy about that. Like I said, I do apologize if I do offend anybody. It's just how I see things, and I mean, be like To the Moon. Come up, talk with me. We'll find something. We'll find an agreement, maybe, hopefully.
No, I admire all your I have nothing negative to say about everything that all your conclusions you're drawing.
I'm not talking about you. No, I want to be able to talk with everybody as much as possible, because that's different worldviews, different lives, different ways that we all see things, right? And so we'll figure it out. It's a growing process, right? I mean, I'm gonna be around for a while, so the more you guys teach me, the more I can teach you, the more we're gonna get through this life, because this world is getting crazier by the day. Yeah. I might be turning the filter off more and more here, because I'm actually finding me trying to not so much filter, but be cautious of what I say, just so I don't know. I'm just done. It's actually caused me a lot of anxiety, because I'm like, do I say it? Do I not say it? Do I actually speak my mind? Like I always give I will always give you guys truthful information, but I might not give you my opinion on the information, because it could be very controversial.
Yeah, well, just be careful of using media as your frame of reference, because I mean, media is driven by an agenda that we've all learned about over the past few years. They're going to be supporting whatever position is in their best interest to support. So
100%.
I've sort of given up on anything the news tells me anymore.
Oh, 100%. No, I definitely agree. I use the ones I used today. It was just like, it was literally the baseline of everything that I could find. They were literally like the middle ground of crazy and other crazy. So that's why I used the ones I did today.
Yeah.
Say it. Tampa Kurt, did you want to keep a channel? Because if I express my opinions, we might not make it very long. No, I'm just kidding. They're not that bad. But yeah, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. I will leave you with this. I will. So if anyone in the Discord doesn't have the YouTube open, you guys might want to do that. I am giving a sneak peek real quick at my very, very long day yesterday. So I do have some awesome people, and I'm not telling you everyone. You'll get to see one person, but I have some awesome people that have agreed to have some of their OGDD put into the first edition of the magazine, because we are giving the magazine away. I'm not charging for the first edition. It's going to be kind of a commemorative thing. But there's been some amazing people that I've really gotten to know over the last few months, that have said, yes, I would love to be a part of it. So here it is. So we all know the cover, right? You guys have seen this before. So we flip it open. We have the table of contents. We have the BullHouse story and everything. I'm just going to flip through it really quick. You're going to see pictures of all of us. I don't know what they're all giving me. And then we have this. So this is what I've been doing. Yes, Sharkbait is the first one on there. And it's part of his chaos theory. So I was pretty stoked that he was letting me use that into the magazine. So yeah, there is the glimpse of it. And then you guys will see me and Hambone. There he is. So there's the glimpse. There's a sneak peek. I'm excited. I'm very, very, very stoked to get that going. I should have it out October 1st. I'm very, very hopeful. I have, oh my god, I think like 70 more pages to do. But it's all copy and paste at this point. Yeah, because I have one piece that I'm a fresh piece that I'm going to try to write for it. And then a few of my old DDs. And like I said, a few others that have agreed to be a part of it. So it's going to be great. It's copy and paste for the most part, thankfully. Yeah, so does anybody else have any final thoughts?
Nope, nothing here. That's
Nothing.
awesome. Yeah, the magazine's awesome. I had to wait a little while to see it on the YouTube, but yeah, it looks good.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And every page is going to be different. Like all the different content creators, like the pages are going to match either their personality or what their DD's about. I'm sorry, you guys can probably totally hear my daughter in the background, like my husband's sitting there making her laugh. But yeah, so it's going to be really cool. I'm excited. So, all right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow is interesting and we get some good news with our stocks. Yeah. All right, I will see you guys later. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.